think I'm ready. Hello, people. It is your good friend Chad Marco here again with another episode of How to Be a NEET. Oh man, it's so good to be with you guys again, But word of warning, there's a fly in this fucking room and he's getting on my nerves. So if I just get up and start snapping, that's what it was. But today's episode is called Video Games. How original. Of course, if you've ever been on the video game board on 4chan, you would know that, that's been like the title name for a while. I don't know if that's still the case, but yeah, man, I used to love going on the fucking video game board on 4chan. That was like, to this day, I still think that's probably one of the top 5 boards as far as like just being entertaining and just the people. The fucking subject matter, fucking video games. I mean, the whole place is just awesome. But if you haven't guessed it already, then today's episode is gonna be about video games. Yay! We all love video games. We've all had our own histories with video games. So today I'm gonna tell you all about my own favorite games and how to get like free cheap games and shit like that, but before I get into that, as you know, I always have a subtopic, and I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. It's a very serious subject. But for real, I want to talk about the incels. Yeah, man. All right. Now, if you guys didn't know, I'm sure you do, but it all started with that fucking guy in Canada. I forgot his name, but you know the one. He hopped in the van and he started just running people over. I think he killed about 10 people. And but what was so interesting about it was that before or after the attack, he had posted something about Elliot Rodger or the Beta Uprising on Facebook or something. So immediately, I guess the media, they connected this guy to the incel movement online. And I'm sure you all know about the incels. The incels, they're kind of like robots, except like they're like 10 times more bitter and autistic and just nasty for real, man. I mean, I like the incels. I hang with the incels online because like they're very like, I feel like we're all cut from the same cloth in one way or the other. But the one thing about the incels is they really hate being virgins. They really hate not being successful with women. And it seems like on places like R9K, it's more of a mixed bag where like some of us, we like a girlfriend, but we don't really bitch about it like that, or we've kind of just accepted our fate. And then of course you got the crybabies too, but the incels, they really hate that shit. Like that's what separates them from the typical like virgin groups online. Like they're they're seriously mad about not being able to enter vaginas, right? And the wizards, like WizChan, they're like the polar opposite of incels. Like their whole culture is just not giving a fuck. I mean, even the word woman word filters to succubus over there. I mean, for real, like there's like zero tolerance for normies or women or any of that shit over there. So incels are basically just like another like subgroup of these like all these like online virgins and shit, right? And so by them being connected with this attack, mainstream media got all over it. And this was so funny because like no one would have ever expected fucking incels to show up in the news. I mean, you got people like Joe Rogan and Alex Jones talking about fucking incels. And it's all just so hilarious because like we've always known about these stupid ass like loser virgin groups online and shit like for years, and now the normies, they're starting to realize that these people exist as well. And it was just a massive shitstorm. I mean, it was fucking beautiful. It was so beautiful because normies, they really like, I mean, it had to be such a shock seeing like this level of autism and loserdom. I mean, and they really couldn't help but be so disgusted by the incels, because like you gotta understand, a lot of them don't really get like 4chan or like Chan dark humor. Like, I know when I first came to 4chan, that was like the first time like I saw like 9/11 jokes and stuff like that. And you know, these normies, they look at the incel forums and board, and you know they have a lot of like dark humor as far as like, you know, like ironically or maybe unironically worshiping Elliot Rodger, or saying shit like, oh, this girl got acid thrown in her face, bravo, it's a victory, or something, you know, just this weird sexist misogynistic shit like that. And normies did not take well to it. I mean, there were so many videos popped up on YouTube about incels. Everyone was just hating them, and you know, saying, you know, oh man, saying all kinds of shit. I mean, of course, I mean, but they're such an easy target. I mean, we're all fucking easy targets, really. But the incels especially, because, you know, not only are they, you know, virginal, shy, weirds, neats or whatever, like they talk about a lot of like anti like women shit. Like they're very just very mean. I don't know how else to put it. They're fucking mean when it comes to women, man. I mean, they are really they're really mad that they cannot get laid. But I do kind of sympathize with the incels, because, you know, on one hand, they have kind of, they do kind of have a point as far as like how dating is sort of it's not necessarily fair, you know. I mean, we all know like girls typically like guys who are taller, so if you're shorter, you're at a disadvantage, or, you know, it's all kinds of just physical features that, you know, men and women find attractive or unattractive, and that can affect, you know, how easy it is for, you know, men and women to get dates or sex, especially men though, because women tend to be a lot more pickier than guys. And you know how guys are, we'll fuck just about anything above a 3. For real. But man, and the normies, I think they get that some of that is true, but they still try to help incels. You know, they try to give them advice like, you know, get a haircut, learn to dress, hit the gym, you know, fix your personality. Like that's a big one, you know. And they hate it. They hate it so much when you say some shit like, you know, oh, it's about your personality, that's why you're not getting laid. And you know, they know damn well, like, you know. And this is another point that I'm in agreement with the incels, is that, you know, it's really not so much your personality as much as it is your looks. I think looks really do, in most of the time, I guess in a lot of ways, I think it's really the first thing that will determine whether or not a girl is gonna fuck with you. I think even if your personality is awesome, if you're below a certain threshold physically, I don't think she'll fuck with you regardless. You know, I think you do have to meet a certain bare minimum as far as looks, but at the same time, looks aren't everything. You know, all girls aren't demanding, you know, that their boyfriend be 6 feet tall, or, you know, this or that. But at the same time, I feel like enough women are that picky that there definitely are gonna be a lot of guys who just do get left out of dating, even if they do try, even if they do put a lot of effort in, you know. I like posting on the incel board because like the autism levels are just so high. I mean, it's kind of like an echo chamber, but it's fun to have that sometimes. It's fun to just indulge in those dark, like self-defeating ideas, because and not have like some bitch say, no, we you know, you're wrong, like you have hope, or some normie say, give some fucking stupid ass. Like sometimes it's just fun to just wallow in like I guess defeat, self-pity, and these sort of dark truths about like our dating and sexual selection system or whatever. Now, if you know me, you know that personally I don't really, being a virgin never bothered me that much. So I've never identified as an incel, even though I like to post with the incels. Because I really, like I said, I do agree that, dating is sort of rigged towards like women just have an overwhelming advantage over guys. I think guys, we gotta work a lot harder to make ourselves attractive to the opposite sex. I agree with all that, but I feel like, there's just more to life than sex. I've always just felt like, yes, it would be nice to slay, to get hot girls or even average girls, even fat girls. But, it's, I guess I realized all this shit like at a young age. I realized this around like years ago when I was like 16, 17. I realized like that I was pretty much a beta male. Like I realized that I was not the type of guy that could easily get women. And so at that point, I knew I had to make a decision. I knew I could either put in the effort to close that gap, to make myself more attractive and try to get girls, or try to find a different way to be happy. And I'm lazy. So I immediately said, look, I'm just going to see if I can just deal with being a virgin. And I'm gonna look for other ways to be happy. I'm gonna focus on music, working out, eating pizza, watching anime, reading, whatever, jacking off, whatever. Like anything other than having to fucking break my back trying to please women. And along that journey, I mean, look, I'm definitely not the authority on happiness, but I can at least say like I'm at a point in my life where I really can't complain. Like I feel not necessarily satisfied, but I feel fortunate. I feel lucky. Like I think about like just how bad things could really be. You know what I mean? And it makes me at least appreciate what I already have. I appreciate being healthy relatively. I appreciate being able to walk and see. I appreciate my family, my mom for supporting me, my nieces, my nephews, whatever, brother, friends, whatever. I appreciate my YouTube subscribers. I appreciate music. I appreciate the sun. I just just practicing the attitude of gratitude has really helped me deal with not having other areas of my life necessarily squared away with. And that's where I separate from the incels in that yeah, dating sucks if you're a beta male, but it's more to life than that. You gotta look, you just gotta look for other ways to smile. Just find anything that'll make you smile and just keep doing that shit. That's how I roll. But I really do feel bad for like the guys who like want a family and shit. Hold on, I'm about to sip some water. That's good. Yeah, I feel bad for the guys who really want a family and children and shit like that, because I think that's part of what makes it easier for me to deal with being a virgin, is that I never really had aspirations to have like a family, like kids, a wife and all that. Like I just wanted like, just maybe a few girlfriends, like I think at the most, I just wanted like some cool experiences with the opposite sex and just fucking go on dates, Netflix and chill, smoke with some bitches, watch anime with some bitches and shit like that. If I can get at least that, I'd be satisfied. But I know some guys, like they really want a family, they really want kids. And when you look at not only what it takes sometimes to get a decent woman, also what it would take to keep her, because if you want a family, it's not enough to just be able to go out here and, fuck a prostitute or, maybe get a couple drunk skanks here and there. Like you want something that's going to last. And, that's really hard to guarantee. That's something that's really hard to guarantee, especially when you look at your own value as a man and just, I mean, no offense to the ladies, but these bitches out here, man, they fucking a lot of niggas. These bitches out here thoughts for real, and it's like, do I really want to wife any of these hoes up? You know what I'm saying? I mean, one day one day your wife is gonna be holding hands with her child in the grocery store, and she's gonna bump into a guy who fucking nutted on her forehead. She licked his asshole out, and she's just gonna blush, and he's gonna look at her and just wonder, like, somebody married this bitch. Somebody put a baby in this damn hoe. This dirty, like, when you look at just the fucking state of women, they just don't even really seem like wives anymore, like wife material, like not the type of, it's crazy, man. It's really wild. But at the same time, though, a lot of guys, I mean, even on 4chan, you'll see guys who, a couple married guys show up, or a guy with kids, and they're happy, like they found a way. Like, there are success stories out there. Me being a pessimist, I'm always like, how long before she divorces this nigga? I'm so negative, but it is cool that those type of people are in our circle as well, because it is sort of an example that, hey, some people do end up finding someone to marry and trust and love, and that's a great thing. But I'm kind of going off the rails here. But yeah, incels. I guess closing comment on the incels. Anybody? Oh, dude, for real though, I do post on the incel forum. Now, if you want to see like, because the thing about 4chan is, like, you guys know I post there, but nobody can really find like my stupid ass posts and shit to like see how I like the shit post. Because I don't use a trip code. I don't use a name. I use an avatar sometimes, but that's only when I'm mentioning like music and shit. But if you look for my name on the incel forum, you'll find my post, and then you get to see like how I like the shit post when I'm on 4chan. It's hilarious. But yeah, go check that out, and I'll see you guys in a bit. I'm gonna get ready for the main topic, and yeah, we're gonna talk about video games, man. I can't wait. Chat Markle out temporarily. Whew, God, man, I'm back. So today's episode is called Vidya Games. Now, this episode is going to be like too complicated. It's just going to be a simple episode. I'm going to talk about video games, and shouldn't be too long. But yeah, so where should I start? I guess I'll start with my own gaming history. Let me see. Now, my earliest memories of gaming was probably on my brother's Nintendo. He had I think he had a Super Nintendo, and had a couple games up there, and man, I had immediately I was just a terrible gamer. But of course I was like a kid, like 4 or 5 or something, so I didn't really have like the mental capacity to beat difficult games like Mario yet. But that was pretty much my introduction to video games, and was pretty much in love ever since. Now, my first console, my own, because I didn't have my own console until I was maybe a little bit older, maybe like 6 or 7. My first console was a Sega Genesis, and my first game was Sonic the Hedgehog. And man, I would never forget, like, just that first stage. You all know the one. Man, but yeah. But the funny thing is, man, like, and people are gonna hate me for this, but the 2D Sonics aren't even my favorite. Like I actually like Sonic Adventure 2 like more than like any other Sonic game, and like that is straight up blasphemy. But I could like I was never good at like the old 2D Sonic games. They were just too like it was like you really had to kind of memorize the stages, and I didn't realize that at the time. I just wanted to go fast. So I would just like hold that fucking D-pad forward and just be balling and just running into shit and dying, and you know you only had a limited number of continues, so I never got far. But when Sonic Adventure 2 came out, that's when I was finally able to really like dig into some Sonic and enjoy myself, because you know, I could go fast and you know, and the game was relatively easy. So yeah, but you know that's kind of that's moving way forward. After I had my Sega though, I upgraded. I got me a PlayStation 1. This was later. Let me see. I might have been around second grade at this point. My mom had got me a PlayStation 1 for Christmas. And I think my first two games were Tomb Raider and Croc. Yeah, Tomb Raider. And still at this point, I like video games, but like I was still at that age where I wasn't able to get my own shit. Like I couldn't. I pretty much had to rely on my mom to buy like my games, and she always got shit that, you know, I thought was okay, but you know how my fucking parents are. They always get whatever bullshit they see first. They grab the first thing they see. So she's getting me shit like Tomb Raider, and I just don't click with games like that. So like my gaming went to a totally different level when we had moved to the city that we're in now, and there was a pawn shop and they had games in there. So now I was able to just go and, you know, I could trade in like my games for other games, and I was able to select. So I started playing like some dope ass games at this point. Man, like what was some of the games I played? Man, I gotta talk about Final Fantasy for a second. Because the first Final Fantasy game that I played was Final Fantasy 7, right? And I'm so mad at myself because I only had it for a day. Now, alright, I played the game, but I got stuck. I got stuck on the first boss. Now, if I remember correctly, the first boss in Final Fantasy 7 is like a robot scorpion or something. And I think the trick is he raises his tail, and if you attack him when he raises his tail, he does more damage or a devastating attack. And I didn't figure that out when I was young. And so I never got past that part, and I traded in that game immediately, and I beat myself up because like to this day I've never beaten Final Fantasy 7, and I want to, but that would have been such a glorious introduction to RPGs for me. Like that could have been the moment, but it wasn't because I was too fucking dumb to beat the first boss. But what ended up being like my serious introduction to RPGs was Final Fantasy 8. So it still kind of worked out, but I still feel like I missed the opportunity there with Final Fantasy 7 because I didn't get it. But Final Fantasy 8, man, to this day, one of my favorite fucking games, because for one, I actually got past the first boss, but I just like not everything about it, but I guess at the time it was like because all the main characters, they were like teenagers going through like teenage angst, so I could kind of semi-relate. And the character models were more realistic, because I remember in Final Fantasy 7, like those character models looked like ass. Like they had like hands that looked like fucking horseshoes. Motherfuckers looked like Legos. But yeah, just the graphics, the music was outstanding. I mean, wow. And it wasn't too difficult. I don't know how I got as far as I did. I never beat Final Fantasy 8 when I first got it. I ended up beating it later, but I got pretty far when I first had it. But I think I just lost interest over time. But yeah, that's one of my favorite gaming memories, man. Final Fantasy 8. Also had Tenchu, Stealth Assassins. That was that stealth ninja game where, man, that game was so dope because it was bloody. I mean, when you cut into somebody, like the sound effect was on point. It just sounded like meat being split, and the blood would just gush out, and you heard the blood spill on the ground like pouring rain. That game was fucking awesome as hell, man. I fucking love some fucking Tenchu, man. Oh man, they had cute Ayame in there, had Ricky Maru in there. Oh man, fond memories. It was man, and it has one of my favorite bosses too, Onikage, and he has that cool boss theme. And spoiler alert, Ricky Maru dies at the end. What else? Also, I played Resident Evil. Let me see. Yeah, I think Resident Evil 1 was my introduction to the Resident Evil series. Hold on, I'm gonna take a little sip. Yeah, Resident Evil, that was my introduction to like survival horror, scary games, but still, like, this was the time in my life where I mean, I hate to admit it, but I was not very good at beating games. I could play them, I could get, pretty far, but I could rarely close the deal. And Resident Evil was another game that was just a little bit too difficult for me at the time, but I still enjoyed playing it because, of course, I was still a kid. So it was like, for one, that game was just scary, just creepy. Like, it's just amazing how those creators were able to manufacture this virtual environment that was able to produce feelings of fear and anxiety in us. Just so many moments in that game. Like when you first meet the zombie who's eating that black guy, and he turns around and looks at you, and my dumb ass, I'm gonna pull out the knife and try to fight him, and I died right there. But also that room, like that hallway with the windows, and when you go like halfway into the room, the dogs bust through the windows and shit. I mean, just so many scary moments in that game. And but I skipped Resident Evil 2. I didn't play Resident Evil 2 as a kid. I played 1, but I also played 3. And man, 3 is another one of my favorite ones. But again, being such a scared little bitch ass kid, I couldn't get very far. I think the farthest I got in Resident Evil 3, I made it to the police station. Let me see. I think I made it to the police station, and Nemesis was like banging on the door, and I saved in the police station, and I never played that game again. Bruh, like, I have to give them so much credit. Just that little detail of Nemesis banging on the door, that killed it for me. That was it. My little 10-year-old, 12-year-old, however old I was, man, like, I couldn't handle it. That shit was scary. Like, I didn't even feel safe after escaping the motherfucker, and I could not play it anymore. But yeah, Resident Evil is still to this day one of my favorite series. Bushido Blade, that was another like weird PlayStation game that I had played. That was that game with it was a fighting game that was set in like the I guess the sort of samurai period or era of Japan, and you would use these samurai to fight each other. But what was so unique about it was that you could die in one hit. Like, the game was built to be sort of realistic in terms of like damage. So like, if you got cut on your arm, you wouldn't be able to use that arm anymore. Well, if the cut was deep enough, or if your leg got cut bad enough, you couldn't stand up and run or walk. And if you got a deep enough cut to the body or the head, that was instant death. So that was a very interesting game because most games just didn't have that level of realism. But yeah, interesting fighting game with Bushido Blade. What else? Chrono Cross. Another RPG that I played. The main thing that I remember about it was that it had so many fucking characters. I mean, I think that game had like 60 different party members that you could have. It was a solid RPG, but from what I'm told, Chrono Cross is inferior to the classic Chrono Trigger. Now, I played Chrono Trigger for like maybe like 30 minutes. I haven't played a lot of it, but most people say like Chrono Cross is inferior to Trigger. So I want to go back and beat Trigger and see how good that is. What else weird games I was playing? Oh man, Guys. This game was cool because I discovered this like after finding like the Final Fantasies. So I knew about Cloud and Tifa, and they were like cameo fighters in Guys, which was like a 3D fighting game on PlayStation that had like, I don't know where they got these characters from. Like, yeah, they had like a lot of, I guess they were just original characters made for the game. But it also had, I think Yuffie, had Cloud, had Tifa, and I think Sephiroth in it as playable characters. And it also had like it had an additional mode that was like an adventure RPG. It was very sloppy, but I played the hell out of it. But yeah, that's another like weird PlayStation game. Galarians, that's like a survival horror / site like action game, like about this it kind of reminds me of Akira, because it's about this kid who gets experimented on and he develops these psychic powers and he escapes from the facility, and he's able to use his powers. But yeah, that's like a weird like survival horror game on PlayStation. But I bring that up because there were so many like Resident Evil clones, and like that's like one of them to me. Like it had that same sort of like tank controls, the way combat was. Even though there weren't any games, it was kind of it kind of worked the same way as like a Resident Evil. And to this day, I love like any type of like Resident Evil clone game, but like tank controls and like a scary setting, and that's one that just comes to mind. Mega Man Legends. Let's talk about that for a second. This is another time where like this is absolute blasphemy, but Mega Man Legends is probably my favorite Mega Man over the 2D Mega Man. I know, I know, but it was another case of just me just not being really, I just did not have the fucking grit to tough it through those like 2D Mega Man games, because they were pretty difficult. I guess at the time, I think now I have an easier time beating them, but at the time, games like that were, I just didn't have the patience for it. But Mega Man Legends was a nice Mega Man experience for me because, not because it was 3D. That was one of the weird things about it. I think it was the first like 3D Mega Man game, but it had sort of an open world, and I loved open world games. There was a lot of like additional, like optional, like content that you could find, like new weapons, upgrades. Just why. Hey guys, I'm sorry about that. I had a little technical difficulty with my mic. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Mega Man Legends. But yeah, as I said, it's definitely kind of an acquired taste. Mega Man Legends has a cult following. It's definitely not the cream of the crop of Mega Man, but definitely has a special place in my heart. What else did I play on PlayStation? Man, I just got so many fond memories of like PlayStation games. like Oddworld, Rayman, Saga Frontier 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3. I mean, there were a lot of great games. But I also had a Nintendo 64. Now, let me see. When I had a 64, what did I have? I played Mario 64, GoldenEye. I love playing that with like my brother and my sister over at my dad's house. The multiplayer split screen, that was awesome. Zelda Ocarina of Time. Man, when I first got that game, it was a used copy, so everything was pretty much available to me from the get-go. So I didn't even beat the game as a kid. I just played around in like the I mean, I did start a new game, but like I said, I sucked at games back then, so I didn't get too far. But I'm glad there was that save file already up there with all the stuff unlocked. Cause I mean, that game is just such a journey. I mean, that game is just pure adventure. Just the environments, the fucking landscapes, the NPCs, all those interesting weirdos you get to interact with. I mean, the combat, the puzzles, finding treasures, just all the different tools that you have at your disposal to get where you need to go and to deal with enemies. I mean, God, Zelda is just such a wonderful game, wonderful series. I mean, damn, oh man, I mean, and I think I've beaten maybe 3 of them. I think I beat Ocarina of Time. I think I beat Twilight Princess and A Link to the Past. I don't think I've beat any more than that though, but man, that's a wonderful I love me some fucking Zelda. I gotta get into some more of that. I played Harvest Moon, that game where like the whole purpose of it is to like run a farm. You plant vegetables and fruits, and you gotta raise livestock. You gotta manage your time and your energy and your resources, and you can even get married. Like that's a pretty like cool sort of slice of life game that surprised that I actually like so much. What else? Goemon's Great Adventure, Conker's Bad Fur Day. That was an awesome ass game because it was so vulgar, you know. Little Chad Marco loved hearing cussing words and seeing like plant titties in a fucking video game. And that multiplayer was so dope. The fucking the caveman T-Rex mode where you had to like steal the egg from the giant dinosaurs. The war mode. I mean, Conker has some of the best multiplayer modes ever, easily. Man, Killer Instinct, Paper Mario. But the one thing about Nintendo 64 I didn't like was that it didn't have a lot of role-playing games, not a lot of turn-based RPGs or anything like that. The only thing I can really think of is like Quest 64, and that game was fucking ass. That game was doo-doo. But I guess after the 64 era, dude, oh god, I just cringed because I just remembered. Oh man. Now, remember when the GameCube, the Xbox, and the PlayStation 2 came out? Now, most of my friends, they got a PS2. My brother got an Xbox. My dumb ass got a GameCube. And now I'm not saying that the GameCube was bad, but I don't think it was the best choice. I think the best choice would have been a PS2, but you know, whatever. I ended up getting a GameCube. This was probably around middle school. Ended up getting like a GameCube. My first game, like I always have the worst luck with like the first game for a console. It was fucking Cell Damage. That raised that battle racing game. Fucking bullshit. But did play a lot of good games on the GameCube as well though. Like Luigi's Mansion. The remake, the Resident Evil 1 remake. Now, I love Resident Evil 1. I love the classic. You can never beat a classic. In fact, I take that back. You can beat a classic because the Resident Evil remake, to me, in my opinion, is the best survival horror game on the fucking planet. Now, Resident Evil 1 did it first. It set the standard. It changed the game, but it came out at a time where the technology just wasn't there. I mean, that game looks like ass now, let's be honest. But Resident Evil 1, not only is it beautiful, I mean, the graphics, even the GameCube version, not because they even did an HD remake not a couple years ago. Even the GameCube version still looks great. I mean, beautiful. And not only that, they up everything. They took everything to they just improved everything. You had the items that allowed you to attack automatically if you got grabbed, like the flash grenade or the disposable knife. They had the what do they call them? Like in the remake, when the zombies die, if you don't burn them, the crimson heads, yeah, they had those motherfuckers are terrifying. If you don't burn the zombies after you kill them, they get up stronger and faster. Damn, remake is, man, that game is fucking one of my, whoa, that game is fucking awesome. I love remake, man. Oh, okay, enough of that though. Animal Crossing, another like slice of life game where you really just literally just live your life buying like furniture and organizing your house and your room, going fishing. But man, I spent a lot of time in Animal Crossing. Like, it's not action packed by any means, but that game is addicting as hell, and it's super comfy. Like, that's the kind of game where like you just wrap up in some blankets and just play for hours, just, you know, trying to pay off your fucking debt to Tom Nook, that damn asshole. But yeah, what else? Crystal Chronicles. Man, what a sad game. I got Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and I thought I was gonna play it with all my friends, but nobody had a fucking, you know, you had to not only have the game, you had to have, like, everybody that you wanted to play with, you had to have a Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Connect wire to the GameCube shit. So, you know, that dream shattered instantly. I thought I was gonna play with my friends, but I ended up playing it by myself. Super Smash Brothers Melee. I mean, we all know about that. The best fucking party fighting game ever. Resident Evil 4. Now, I didn't play Resident Evil 4 till like way later, but man, I don't think I have to fucking talk about that. We all know how fucking great Resident Evil 4 is. I don't think it's superior to the remake. I hate to say it, but Resident Evil 4 may be number 2 as far as like best Resident Evils. Like, I give it like number 2, number 3. Pikmin. I fucking love Pikmin. Like, you want to talk about a fucking gorgeous game? And when I say gorgeous, I don't mean just visually, but just the mechanics and everything about that game is just, it's so simple, but the fucking genius of Nintendo, man. Like, they turned, I mean, this game is just so awesome. If you don't know, Pikmin is the game where you're like a space, you're like this guy who's in a spaceship and he crash lands on this planet and his ship is destroyed and is broken into all these different parts, and he has to put his ship back together. But in order to do that, he has to utilize the help of these alien creatures called Pikmin, who can do various tasks for him, like fight enemies and lift objects and carry it back to the ship and stuff like that. But man, that is an awesome game, like, because you get to a point where you just start caring for your Pikmin so much. Like, you hate losing them in battle. You hate to see them like end up in some water and drown. And I mean, you all just really, just the way you depend on each other and the way you lead them and the way they assist you. And I mean, the worst feeling in the world is when the day is over and the time is running up and everybody has to get back to the ship. And if you leave anybody, you see them running back to the ship at the last minute and then they get eaten by like a animal or something. I mean, that's the worst feeling in the world. But not only that, but I just remember the sense of accomplishment that I got when I beat that game. I mean, not only was it fun, but it was challenging, but like perfectly so, just the perfect challenge. But that last stage, I remember being a bitch. But man, I think beating Pikmin was probably one of the greatest feelings of accomplishment I ever got from a game. I mean, that was awesome. Oh man, I love that game. What else? Anything else on GameCube? Of course, Sonic Adventure 2. I talked about that earlier. We at Pumpkin Hill. You ready? Those fucking rap songs. I love that shit. But man, when I had my GameCube, that's when Dragon Ball Budokai came out. Now this was big. Oh man, Budokai was big in the hood, bruh. For real, bruh. Like, of course we got, Dragon Ball Fighters or Fighter Z out now, and Xenoverse and all these new great Dragon Ball games. But at the time, Dragon Ball Z Budokai, that was like the first good Dragon Ball game ever. I mean, because they had bullshit like Ultimate Battle 22. I think they had like a GT fighting game on PlayStation, some old like Nintendo games, but none of them hit the level. Like, none of them really did it like Budokai. Budokai like really made you feel like you were into anime. Like, it felt like a Dragon Ball fight because you could power up, you could do combos. They had the specials. The graphics were decent for the time, especially on the GameCube. Oh man, I mean, that was the first, and I mean, we played the hell out of that shit in the hood. Let me tell you, bro, cause man, black people, we fucking love some Dragon Ball Z, so we were already on that shit. So when Budokai came out, bruh, we all went to my friend's house and we just be passing sticks, bruh, just passing the controller, playing Budokai, just beating each other's ass, man. Like, that shit was fun. Man, I still play Budokai to this day. Damn, that's my shit. Okay. Now, after I had my GameCube, I got an Xbox. You remember the Xbox huge, the fucking big ass black and green box that everybody complained about how big it was and how big and bulky the controller was. But I do have a lot of fond memories of playing the Xbox. It introduced me to some great games. I'm looking at this list here that I wrote. Man, I'm gonna talk about a couple of these. I want to talk about Fable. Gotta talk about Fable, man, because now Fable was my first experience of really anticipating a game and then getting it and realizing this ain't the game that they promised. I mean, Fable is notorious for promising all these game features and this and that never make it to the finished product, and I experienced that firsthand. Like, I was there with that, like, on the first Fable wave. Like, I anticipated that game so much. Now, don't get me wrong, when I got it, I played it, I loved it, one of my favorite games to this day. But man, I mean, it wasn't what, like, they just sold it in such a way that you thought it was gonna be just the most grandest RPG experience ever, and then you play it and you see how limited, like a lot of the ideas were there, but they just weren't as fleshed out as you wanted them to be. But I mean, just for example, yeah, there are a lot of places that you can explore in Fable, but like the actual like landscapes are mostly like just paths and shit. Like they're just like just narrow paths to here and there, and maybe like a circle with like some woods and shit. So just just little things like that. And then they had features like, you can have a wife or something like that, but then there's not really much you can do with that. Like it's just, all right, you get married and then you got some bitch saying some line to you at your house, and then you just beat her to death because you're sick of her. So, but it was still like they definitely tried, and it was definitely a good game. I definitely enjoyed that shit. Just the fact that you could the amount of freedom you had as far as like the like being good and bad, and how that affected your character physically, like with the horns and the halo and the flies, and they did a couple things right. But yeah, I did like Fable. I enjoyed it quite a bit, even though it was a little disappointing. But man, another great game that the Xbox introduced me to was the Elder Scrolls Morrowind. I'm so glad that I had the patience to figure out this game. Like, honestly, I'm getting chills thinking about Morrowind, bro. I'm getting chills right now because I remember now, like, my first time playing that game, and initially it's like, because I had no prior knowledge of the Elder Scrolls series, mind you, and you're on that boat and you go up to the deck and you start creating your character and you create your class, and then you walk out and you're just free. I mean, truly free. I mean, free in a way that I never experienced in any game. I mean, Zelda kind of gave me that feeling, but there was still some direction, like and then everywhere wasn't available to you immediately. Fable, same thing. But Morrowind, once you got out that fucking door, it's like they ain't give a fuck what you did. Like, I mean, for real, like, I spent so much time just doing side quests, exploring, just fucking with the NPCs, trying to get away with murder, stealing shit, having houses full of jewels and armor and books and valuables, and just hoarding stuff, trying to find the best weapons, leveling up, exploring this cave, exploring this dungeon, this abandoned Daedric shrine, whatever, going to this town, this city. Oh, I didn't know this was over here. That game is fucking massive. That is a huge game. Now, of course, that game has not aged very well in turn, because, of course, as far as like combat, graphics, and pretty much everything else, Oblivion, Skyrim, they're shitting all over Morrowind. Let's face it. Like they really polished that game up. The Elder Scrolls series has hit a new level of polish. But to this day, man, Morrowind is still my favorite, because I don't know, I played Morrowind more than any of the other games. I've beaten Skyrim. I never beat Skyrim. I beat all the side quests. I just never beat the main story because I lost interest by then. But I beat Oblivion, did all the side quests. But Morrowind, despite all the many hours I've put in that game, I still don't feel like I've gotten everything out of it. And I even beat the main quest line. I beat that. I did a lot of the side quests, but it's still so much that I didn't complete all the way to the end. Like, did I do all the Thieves Guild missions? Have I done all the Fighters Guild quests? Have I, what if I joined the Balmora family or the Telvanni family? There were so many things that I never completed. And part of it is because of the way that game is structured. Morrowind is structured in such a way that it's not easy to just complete everything the way it is in Oblivion and Skyrim, where you just fast travel everywhere. And when you get a quest, they mark it on your map specifically where you got. There was like some weird shit in Morrowind, like some gangster shit, where you would get a quest and they wouldn't even mark it on your map. They would say, go here, and then you would see a big tree, turn left. Like, they would give you real directions, and you had to really look for stuff. You had to really look for people, and that made it harder to advance certain quest lines because it was easy to get stuck in Morrowind because you couldn't just bounce from place to place completing shit. And in a way that made it more tedious, but I think that it made it better too because you had more of a sense of just, it added to that sense of adventure. Because I found myself kind of zoning out playing Skyrim because everything was just so streamlined. Like I just feel like I was just going off a checklist as far as like completing quests and stuff. But in Morrowind, like I had to really engage and stay focused to get shit done and figure things out. And I'm sorry, I just had to rant about that because Morrowind, I really do adore that game. I adore the fuck out of Morrowind, man. But I gotta move on now. What else? I played Half-Life 2. That was a very impressive game. Now, I'm not really, well, at least at the time, I really wasn't into first-person shooters, but I remember when I played Half-Life 2 on the Xbox, I was like, this is an impressive game. Like, this game is really, like it looks great. It's so precise. I mean, damn, I mean, that was... But I never got around to beating it. I definitely got to go back and beat Half-Life 2. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. Now, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but of course I love video games and I love RPGs. So this was a nice way for me to enjoy the Star Wars universe without having to look at the movies. I gotta check those movies out. But really, the Knights of the Republic game is really how I got a lot of my Star Wars like knowledge and shit like that. But that was a cool RPG game. Jet Set Radio Future. That it's like a rollerblading game that's like has cel shaded graphics, very stylish, over the top, awesome soundtrack, dope music all around. I mean, that's a groovy ass game for sure. Okay, man. Now see, I always gotta expose myself, like with Mega Man and Sonic. How my favorite Mega Man and Sonic games are really kind of the ones that are like kind of weird, and it's the same way with the Deus Ex series. Now, of course, Deus Ex that's that first person shooter game where you're like some type of agent who's stuck in like some type of like conspiracy theory shit, and you can customize like your character as far as like what skills you're good at and your arguments or whatever, that kind of shit. I'm sure you all know about Deus Ex, but my introduction to the Deus Ex series wasn't the first one. It was actually Invisible War on Xbox. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but Deus Ex 2 Invisible War was actually kind of a letdown to fans of the first one. But I didn't know about the first one. I played the second one first, and I loved that game. That game was so fucking awesome because I just love games that give you choice and freedom. And that gave that to me. Except usually when you have a game that's offering like, divergent plot lines and character building and things like that, it's usually like, swords and dragons, medieval JRPG stuff. But this was like a first person shooter with those, with some RPG elements. And not only that, just the amount of freedom they gave you as far as like how you approach situations. You could be stealth. You could be Rambo, anything in between. You could use negotiation. You could be an asshole. You could be a nice guy. I loved all that, and yeah, that was just a fun ass game. But I didn't learn until later about Deus Ex. I think the first one is called Deus Ex Conspiracy Theory. But I didn't play that until later, and I like that one too. But and I really can't say which one I like better. To be honest, I like them probably equally. I probably like them both about the same, to be honest. But I didn't know that Invisible War wasn't as well received as the first one. But I love that game. And that kind of made me think, like, I wonder how much of our opinion of a game is based on our expectations, especially in a series that we're familiar with. Because would I have felt the same way about the second one if I played the first one first? Or would I have enjoyed it just as much? But I think because I kind of was introduced to it first, that I was able to enjoy it without comparing it to the first one. And yeah, just something I thought about. What else? I played like Doom 3 up there. Yeah, I also had a Dreamcast when I had a Dreamcast twice. The first time I had it was when I was, I think, late middle school. But the second time I had it was like early in my NEET life. And those were like two very different experiences. Because when I first had a Dreamcast, I didn't know about like burning. Like, I didn't know that you could burn Dreamcast games and just play them straight up. I didn't know about all that. So I had to just buy games like normal. So I didn't get to play a lot of them. But I remember I played Phantasy Star, Typing Up the Dead, Shenmue. That's a game that stands out to me on the Dreamcast. That was a unusual game because the way they balanced the action and the adventure of it, because you would think looking at it that you're getting a martial arts game, but it's really geared more towards story. It's very slow. It's about collecting information and clues to progress the story more so than just fighting, even though you can fight, and there are quite a bit of fights in it. But that was a very interesting game, and despite how slow it is, I love that game. I mean, there's literally a part in that game where you have a fucking job, right? And you get up in the morning, you go to work, you work, and you have a lunch break, and you work again, and then you're off, and then you go back to collecting information, gathering info to find out who killed your father. And you do that for weeks, and I can't believe I sat through that shit. But it was that is a cool game, man. I mean, I really like just went along with it. Like I would like just get up, go to the store, I might buy some chips. I'll buy like a fucking cassette, listen to it a little bit. I mean, that game really allowed you to sort of like live like a slow, chill life as like a Japanese boy. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm gonna take a break real fast, and I'll be right back, and we're gonna talk about my PlayStation 2 era. Be right back. Okay, I am back. And where were we? Okay. Now I'm gonna talk about the fun I had with my PlayStation 2s. Man, let me think back. I immediately think of Grand Theft Auto. That was the first game that you could really just go postal and just start shooting shit up properly. I mean, for real, yo. I mean, open world, you can just hop in any car, kill anybody, go to war with the police. I mean, I don't know what kind of effect those type of games have had on this. Oh man, now I'm just thinking about like all the school shootings and shit, and like, oh man. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto, and of course the best one is San Andreas. That's indisputable. But seriously though, is that really my favorite? Let me think for real, because three was when it really, when they took it to the next level, like three-dimensional world. Um, I mean the gore, the violence was really amped up. I mean, partially because of the new graphics and just the new visual. Like you saw, like, you know, you really beating the fuck out of people. It's crazy. And let me see, Vice City, that was cool. Yeah, but I didn't play. I don't think I played a lot. No, I don't know. Vice City was good too, but I think San Andreas for sure. Oh yeah, but I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5 yet. I still haven't played that, so that one looks awesome. I played it like online on other people's consoles, but yeah, that looks good. I gotta play the fuck out of that. But what else? Oh man, all right, Persona, man. I can't even remember. Hold on, let me think. How did I even find out about Persona? What was it? I think what made me notice Persona, cause that was an interesting little time in my life. Man, what made? Perhaps it was Persona 4, but I'm just not. I don't know what made me do it. But anyway, it was either Persona 3 or Persona 4, and I think I heard about it on the video game board on 4chan, and but I didn't want to start at 3 or 4. I went all the way back to 1, and that was the first Persona game that I played. The first one on PlayStation, and it was cool because it had like an anime vibe, like you know, the kids were in high school, and you know they were all a very colorful bunch of a variety of attitudes and personalities and flavors, uh and it just had like this grim dark vibe to it. You know, they were summoning demons, and the city was in chaos, and you're going from place to place. Like you got guns and shit, swords, and you're summoning demons, fighting demons. Like it was really cool, man. And but I played 1, and I skipped 2 to play 3. I think, but 3 is where it really gets good, and this is what I really wanted to talk about. Persona 3. When I played this game for the first time, man, I swear that shit was so awesome. It was just pure RPG bliss. That game was so fucking refreshing, man. Oh man, I just remember playing it, and I remember when I first heard that song. You know the song that plays at the dormitory, Awa Todai Bunryu or whatever. I love that song so much. I paused the game and I got right on my computer and I downloaded that song and I just started listening to it. I even did a freestyle to that fucking beat. That song is so awesome. The whole soundtrack on Persona 3 is so awesome. I mean, just the entire Shin Megami Tensei series just has wonderful soundtracks all across the board. Nocturne, the older Persona games, Persona 4, Catherine, whatever you name it, like those games have. I think the composer's name is Shoji Meguro or something like that. I mean, that guy is my fucking idol, for real. I mean, he fucking kills it every time. I mean, whenever a new Persona product comes out, like my excitement is equally for the music as much as the actual game and the gameplay itself. So man, I just really love the music that are in those Persona games, and but yeah, getting back to Persona 3, man. And just like the first one, it was like school kids. They're all fucking edgy and angsty and shit. And they're all into this dark shit. They're summoning demons after school at the midnight hour, and then they had the whole social link aspect where you kind of socialize with various people and you got to know them and you develop a sort of bond with them, and that in turn increase, I think, your persona powers in combat. So it was just an interesting game because you had to balance like a normal like school kid's life with going inside of this dungeon and fighting monsters and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in the city. And that balance just gave it this interesting different feel from any other RPG, where I would say the normal RPG is like it's like at least 75 to 80% dungeon crawling and adventuring fighting, but this was like 50-50, and both parts were equally good. Being outside of the dungeon and socializing and exploring the city or whatever never really felt like a chore. It was always interesting. And the dungeons, even though Persona 3 they were kind of repetitive, the whole soundtrack and the baby like every fight and the fucking combat system was so much fun. I think in Persona 3 you couldn't I think in Persona 3 you couldn't control the other characters in combat. Like you could give them like sort of like a general direction, but you couldn't control them directly. And I think some people had disliked that, but that was one aspect that I really liked about that game. And this is kind of sad, but that game really helped me not feel lonely. For real. Just the fact that it was like being in school like all over again, except like you're not necessarily with the cool kids, but you have a circle and you're doing cool shit together, and just being in the dungeon and them kind of fighting on their own during combat, like that just made it feel more like I was in a group, like I was with friends, I was with people. And I don't know, I just really like that aspect of that game. But yeah, man, I could talk about Persona all fucking day, but I gotta move on. Let me take a sip. What else? Bully. That was a good game. That was another good game. Man, I mean, I would say Bully is better than GTA 3, 4, maybe Vice City. I mean, for real, Bully was really good. Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear. Oh man, let me at least talk about Metal Gear Solid a little bit. My first time playing Metal Gear Solid was the first one on PlayStation. Again, I was a dumb kid. I couldn't beat any fucking thing. I was a terrible gamer, so I never got anywhere when I played Metal Gear for the first time. I think I made it just into the facility, but I didn't get far past that. So, but I did end up going back to Metal Gear 1 and beating it. Great game, by the way. God damn, I think Metal Gear 1 is my favorite, but I've only beaten 1, 2, and 3. 2, that was really good. But of course they had the big like twist, or where it was like you thought you were gonna play Snake and you ended up playing Raiden. But he wasn't that bad. It was still an awesome game. I mean, the thing about Metal Gear is like that really stands out to me is just the level of polish that those games have. Like Metal Gear reminds me of like first party Nintendo games like Zelda, Mario, like just the attention to detail and how fluid and how everything just works and is also unique and just all around impressive. Like that's what Metal Gear reminds me of. Like it's really some next level production on those fucking games, man. Like not just the stories and the characters, but the gameplay. I mean, everything is just elite. God damn, the Metal Gear games are just so fucking impressive, man. Devil May Cry, Nocturne. I mentioned that when I was talking about Persona. What else? Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X. What do I have to say about Final Fantasy X? Final Fantasy X. You know, I like the first 20 minutes of Final Fantasy X. And but nah, that was a good game. But I think Final Fantasy X is where the series started to lose its magic for me, for real. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but I played 10, I played 12, I played 13, and to me, it's like in terms of like graphics, like Final Fantasy just gets better and better every time, but it's like in terms of actually being like invested in the stories, like that just hasn't been the case. Maybe a little bit with 10, I was a little invested, but after that, I mean, it really lost. I don't know. It just feels like I'm playing like an overly produced game. They've just thrown money into creating like this monster RPG, but it's like Final Fantasy doesn't have soul anymore, and that's what I think of when I think of Final Fantasy X. Like when it started to lose its soul, but it was still pretty good. It was probably the last one with like a semblance of that feeling, man. Had Big Titty Lulu in there. Oh man, she was cute. What else? Manhunt. That was a fucking man. That was a brutal game. Manhunt was that game. It was made by Rockstar, and you were basically this guy who was like on death row, and some snuff film director, he ends up like saving you from the prison, but in return, you pretty much gotta go on a killing spree for him, and he's gonna record it all and turn it into a snuff film. So it's like a stealth snuff film thing, but excuse me, but that game is actually like surprisingly, it was surprisingly scary, and I never beat it because the final stage, when you gotta fight Pigsy, he's like the fat dude, the fat naked dude with the chainsaw and the pig skin on his head. I can't play that stage. I can't do it. Like I've always had a phobia, not a phobia, but like a fear of Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he's so similar to that. I cannot play that part. That's why I can never beat that game, because that fucking chainsaw wielding asshole. What else? Onimusha, Resident Evil Outbreak. I'm so sad because I love Resident Evil, and Resident Evil Outbreak was like, it was the opportunity to have that Resident Evil experience but with other people. And by the time I got my hands on it, the online that died pretty much. The servers were down, so I never got to experience that. I mean, that's one of my biggest regrets to this day, is that I never got to experience Resident Evil Outbreak online, man. That would have been so much fun, but I still love that game. Okay, that's all I'm gonna talk about with the PS2. All right, and eventually I ended up getting a 360 and a PS3. But around this time, I wasn't really into gaming like super hard anymore. Like by the time I rolled around like 360 PS, like I kind of just got games here and there. So let me see, what were some games I played? Of course, Oblivion. I mentioned that earlier. Man, Oblivion, when that came out, I mean, I know I just gave so much praise to Morrowind. I mean, I've filleted all over that fucking game. But Oblivion is really great as well. When that game came out and I saw the videos on YouTube, I wanted to play that game so bad. I don't think I ever wanted to play a game so bad in my life, because I was just thinking like Morrowind with better graphics and a better combat system. Man, that game looked like crack cocaine to me. I wanted it so bad, man. It was crazy. Man, I finally got my hands on it, and I beat every I think I completed every quest and got every achievement in like, it was either a week's time or 2 weeks. But I played that game non-stop. But like I said earlier, man, like it's the fact, just the way it's structured. It was so easy just to go from point A to point B that I cleared that game out in no time. But that shit was fucking awesome. Fallout 3, that was another great one, but a lot of people just consider it to be like Oblivion with guns. But yeah, that was a fantastic game. Dark Souls, Dark Souls, Dark Souls. I always heard of Dark Souls, and I knew it had a reputation for being difficult. And I remember there was a thread on V, and people were talking about the difficulty of Dark Souls, and some people were like, why don't they just have an easy mode? Most games have an easy mode. Why can't this game just have an easy mode so it's more accessible to other players? And I was in agreement. I was like, yeah, like if this game is so difficult, why don't you just have an easy mode? And then I played it, and then I understood. I was like, okay, no, do not put an easy mode in this game. Man, I never knew that I could appreciate difficulty and challenge as much as I could until I played Dark Souls. Dark Souls put the fucking the soul flame of challenge into my heart. Like it really made me love like getting killed and trying again and again. They have just such a perfect formula of and balance of reward and challenge. I don't know how they do it, but that game is fucking awesome and so fucking tough. But the thing about it is, it's not really hard. Well, it seems like most of the difficulty of it is not knowing how to do things. It's not. It's like some of the hardest parts in that game can be easier, much easier, if you just know the right way to approach it. And that's why a lot of people say Dark Souls isn't even hard. And yeah, it's more so just that first time not knowing what to expect around each and every corner, and your character is so fragile. I mean, things go from good to danger in an instant. I mean, you never know what the fuck is gonna pop out at you in that game. But yeah, but what I like about Dark Souls though is like it's like the embodiment of those old school side scroller games, like those really difficult old school side scrollers that I could never beat, like Castlevania, Contra, Ninja Gaiden. It has like that kind of challenge, but the game is good enough that it justifies the challenge, if that makes sense. Like, the problem I have with a lot of old games that are hard is like, it's like I will be beating it just to beat it. Like, the game isn't actually fun as much as it is just you enjoying the fact that you just overcame that. But I think what Dark Souls has, it has that level of challenge, but the gameplay is also fun and rewarding in of itself, that it's like you don't really mind getting killed. You don't mind doing certain parts over and over again. You don't mind overcoming these challenges because the game is just genuinely fun. Kind of similar to Oh man, I had a brain fart. What did I think of? I just thought of Devil May Cry 3 because that game was kind of difficult too, but it was fun. You know, once you got the combos down and you knew how to fucking be stylish, you know, the game was pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, Dark Souls, pretty damn cool. What else I got on this list here? Street Fighter 4, man. Whew. Street Fighter 4 was the bomb. Now, personally, to this day, Street Fighter Third Strike is my favorite Street Fighter game ever. But Street Fighter 4, what I loved about that was, of course, it was HD, graphics out of this world, fighting system wasn't bad, none of that. But like, I was finally able to play it online. Like, that's what really made the Street Fighter 4 experience for me. Just being able to finally play, because I always loved fighting games, but I never had a way to really play it with other people who were as interested in it as I was. And when Street Fighter 4 came out, that was when everybody was doing online gaming, Xbox Live, PS3, whatever. And I jumped on that bandwagon, and man, I had a blast. That shit was just so much fun playing online. But I think the game by itself is inferior, to be honest, to a lot of other Street Fighter games. Like, as a standalone single player game, I think it's pretty inferior. But just being able to play it online, I think it's pretty awesome. Soul Calibur, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that was fucking awesome. Persona 4 Arena, the Persona fighting game, that was cool. BlazBlue, King of Fighters, Left 4 Dead, Mass Effect. Catherine. Gotta talk about Catherine for a little bit. I was so excited for this game when this was coming out. Kind of like with Fable, like, cause I was already riding the whole Atlas bandwagon. I felt like they could do no wrong. I mean, the Persona games had me sold. So when I heard Catherine was coming out and I saw that it was like kind of a romance / horror theme, I was like, oh, this is dope. I gotta get this shit. I think Catherine was the first game that I ever pre-ordered in my whole life. For real, I pre-ordered that shit. I wanted it that bad. I was so excited to play it, but yeah, I pre-ordered it. I got me some weed. I got me some Twizzlers, man. God damn, I was ready. Had me some snacks and shit. Damn, I made sure I was right to play that game. I said I'm smoking, I'm eating, and I'm playing this damn game. But to be honest, the game was a little it wasn't terrible. I would even say it was good, but I think if I had to score it, I had to give it a 7. But to be fair, I mean, the first time going, I mean, of course, it's like a puzzle game, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that the actual gameplay is really fun as fuck. I mean, just really thrilling because you know, the blocks are always falling, and then you got like the giant bitches trying to stab you with forks and shit. So it's a really exciting game, but I guess, I don't know. It was just, it's hard to say what exactly was the problem with Catherine. I guess it was just lacking in content. If I had to, because the thing is, the story wasn't even that great. And it's really a story-driven game. And kind of similar to Persona, where it's split in like half story, overworld, and then half dungeons and fighting. And, you know, I felt like the story aspect of Catherine was not bad, but wasn't great. And the dungeon aspect was probably, I mean, the whole puzzle games, that was probably the best part of it, but they didn't expand on that enough to add many gameplay hours after you finish it. I mean, Catherine would have been so much better if it had an online mode because they had things like Babel. They had a 2-player mode. So if I think if Catherine had an online mode and a bigger variety of puzzle mazes, enemies, just I think if they just expanded on that, that could have been an even better game, but they never did. So it's kind of disappointing. Oh yeah, Bioshock. Bioshock was like this horror game, right? And what was Bioshock about? I totally forgot. The main thing I remember about Bioshock was the little sisters and the big daddies, and I was one of the players. I couldn't kill the little girls. Like I always save the little sisters. And it was weird because normally I like to be a jerk. I like to be an asshole in games, but it was something about this. I was just like, I'm saving them. I'm doing the right thing here. And Bioshock was a great game. You had the powers, you had the guns. It was kind of scary and great first-person shooter. But that ending that you get because you saved all the little girls, that was probably one of the best video game endings I ever had. Like that, I felt so vindicated in my decision. It was just, I mean, it's so lame, but that was really a beautiful ending, and that's what I really give Bioshock the most credit for. It was a great, enjoyable game, but just the way they reward you with that ending for saving those girls, like I wouldn't have had it any other way. I wonder what the other ending is like, though. Now, would you kindly pay attention as I talk about some more games? I had a PSP for a little while. I thought I was the shit when I had a PSP, but I think it was a dumb decision getting a PSP because I ended up selling it to help me get a 360. But I was just so sold on the idea of having a handheld with like PlayStation 2 tier graphics. But it was a pretty cool device. I kind of wish I had one now. I mean, there were a lot of cool games out there that I never got to play. But PSP was fucking dope. Now, as far as like PC gaming, I've never had a PC that was capable of running like next gen games or anything like that. So any PC gaming I did was like Flash games on Newgrounds, maybe like early 2000 games. Like I know I beat Silent Hill 3 on my laptop, Call of Cthulhu, Obscure, several just like that era of games. Probably the most that my little cheap laptops could run. So I would play games like that, and what else? What else I do on PC? That's about it though. PC, I never. Oh yeah, also emulating. Yeah, of course. They got the Nintendo emulators, got PlayStation emulator. Man. But yeah, that's about it with yeah, that's pretty much my gaming history. Nothing. And the funny thing is, I don't even have a PS4 yet. Like, I'm so broke right now. I don't even. I've been playing like other people's shit as far as like new games. I haven't been gaming a lot lately. I did dust off the old PS3, but as far as like Xbox One, PS4, my brother has one, but I just haven't really been playing shit like that lately. I've been more on like the anime like wave, like that's why like that's part of the reason why I haven't been playing a lot of like newer shit, is that my focus has been like on just watching shit instead of playing shit. But I'm just now starting to get back into gaming because Dragon Ball Fighters is out and Monster Hunter World, so I want to get back into that. But I've been like an anime manga head for the past couple past couple of years. Yeah, so have fun talking about my gaming history. Next up, I'm going to talk about some miscellaneous gaming things and also my top 15 games of all time. Stay tuned, people. Now, the thing about being a NEET is that you're broke as fuck a lot of the time. So, how do you get games to enjoy while you're broke as fuck and a NEET? And man, I'm lucky that I've had several blessings in my life, such as the fucking Dreamcast. I will never forget, man, like early in my NEET life, I did nothing but eat candy, play Dreamcast, and watch horror movies on my fucking computer. I mean, that was my life. That was the lifestyle, man. And, but what really helped was the fact that I had that Dreamcast, and I found out that Dreamcast, all you have to do is burn the CD on a normal, like 700 megabyte audio CD that you can get out of stores, and boom, you got the game. So I pretty much was playing the entire Dreamcast library just because I knew how to burn those games to CDs. And Dreamcast had no copyright protection or anything, so you could just pop them in there, and that really supplied me with, enough gaming for, had to be over a year. I was playing the fuck out of that Dreamcast for a long time. There were so many games I played on that bitch. Sonic Adventure, Shenmue, Carrier, those bad horror games like Illbleed, The Ring, had Evil Dead up there. Third Strike, played that like every fucking day. Street Fighter, New Generation and Second Impact. Had Alpha 3. Jet Grind Radio. So many goddamn games on that bitch. Damn, I played the hell out of Dreamcast for a long time. But yeah, Dreamcast is an easy option to get you a lot of fucking free games and a lot of good games on the Dreamcast as well. So a lot of fun there to be had. But also PlayStation 1. Now PlayStation 1 isn't as easy as the Dreamcast. You can't just burn it and put it in there. Like you gotta do some hard modding in there. But it's really not too difficult. Like you can really hard mod a PS1 with household items. I did it in just I was able to do it in like one night, just looking at YouTube videos and doing research and tinkering around with my PlayStation. I was able to mod it so that it could play burn CDs by using the swap district, and from there it was on. I thought I had fun with the Dreamcast. Now PlayStation actually has a fucking library, so I played a ton of PlayStation games, went back and beat games that I never had the chance to. Man, like that was a lot of fun. So yeah, PlayStation 1 is another option for getting a lot of free games. Of course, emulation. You can emulate just about, not anything, but a lot of, especially like older consoles, you can emulate Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Dreamcast, GameCube, PS2, PlayStation. A lot of those, and the ROMs and the ISOs aren't very hard to find. So that's a great option for just getting free games to play. Then there are a lot of like older PC games that are like easy to find and download that run easily on like cheap laptops and shit like that. Flash games, a lot of fucking options. But really, that's it for that. Now I'm gonna get to the main event of the night. I'm going to give my list of my top 15 games of all time. This is the Chad Marco Video Game Awards. People, welcome. I'm your host, Chad Marco. All right, I'm playing. Okay, so number 15, I'm gonna give it to Streets of Rage 2. Now, of course, Streets of Rage is a side-scroller beat-em-up that was released on the Sega Genesis, I believe, in 1991. I played that game on I think it was a CD on the GameCube that had like a variety of old Sega Genesis or Sega games. And I loved it just straight from the beginning, man. I mean, and just being a young black kid, and they had Skate, a young black kid, like I felt like, oh, like they got my demographic in this game. So, and the soundtrack is bananas. I mean, honestly, that game wouldn't be what it is without the music. Streets of Rage 2 is one of those games, it's fun, but that music, man, I could never play that game on mute. I could not play it on mute. It's that soundtrack. It brings that game to life. That is my favorite thing about that. I mean, of course, it's a decent gameplay wise, but it's really the soundtrack that I think makes Streets of Rage 2 for me. Number 14, I'm going to give it to Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead. Now, that was I think it was on PC as well. I know it was on I had it on 360. Of course, it was the zombie game that was played primarily online. You had 4 players, and the goal was to survive as you made it through the city. And it was so cool because you fought like hordes of zombies all at once, and they were fast. And then they had the super zombies, like I think they were called hunters or boomers and smokers. And the game really forced you to cooperate. Like you really could not. It was much harder to survive on your own, especially because of the super zombies. But the reason why I put Left 4 Dead on this list is because to this day, it's probably one of the best online experiences that I ever had. That game is so much fun online playing it with other people. That's why I give it number 14. One of my most memorable times playing video games there. Number 13, Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is a survival horror game based around the H.P. Lovecraft horror books that dealt with otherworldly horrors and deep sea gods and shit like that. But Call of Cthulhu, I love that game because first of all, just the unique brand of horror, because it's based off of the H.P. Lovecraft books. I mean, that guy wrote some awesome stuff because I read some of it because Call of Cthulhu kind of got me into him. And man, just he had a very, just his type of horror was just unique, and to this day it's very different. I can't really, it's hard to describe, but it's just, it deals with things like outside of like the human imagination, but kind of like we kind of toy with the idea of discovering things that are out of this world. But in like the Cthulhu, I guess you would say the Cthulhu universe, they kind of flip it, because it's like if you do discover the secrets of the universe, you might lose your fucking mind. Like it's not like you're gonna find it and everything's gonna be okay. Like it's gonna destroy your entire world view. It's gonna drive you mad. It's gonna drive you to suicide to know the cosmic horrors that are really lurking in the dark corners of the earth. And that's why I love. Well, that's part of why I love Call of Cthulhu, just because of that particular style of horror. But of course it's actually like a decent like first person shooter because well, I wouldn't say it's a decent but I would say the action is decent because it's they give you a nice variety of guns and but it still manages to be scary even though you're popping caps and fish people, if that makes sense. But the most memorable part of that game to me is the hotel escape sequence where you've investigated the town and then you go to sleep in the inn because the bus isn't running anymore. They set that up, by the way. And you wake up in the middle of the night and they're banging on your door trying to kill you basically, and then you get control of the character and you gotta escape from the hotel. That sequence is one of the scariest parts I've ever played in a fucking video game, up there with Nemesis jumping through the window in the police station. I mean, that part is scary as fuck, man. But yeah, I love Call of Cthulhu. Number 12, gonna give it to Shenmue. I mentioned Shenmue earlier. Shenmue is just, man, just partially this is gonna be nostalgia, but I also do think that it's really just a great game. It's harder to stomach the second, or I'm maybe not the second, but it's a game that's hard to like to fucking replay just because of how dense it is with just sort of repetitive day-to-day activities, with the occasional fight and action sequence sprinkled in. But I just think just as a fucking, I look at it more as just an artistic piece. that's why I put it number 12 up here. Like it's just I had a great experience with it, but it's so different. I really just couldn't see this list without Shenmue. Like just out of all the games I've played, like I don't know. There's just really something special about that game that really hard to explain. Number 11. Number 11. I'm gonna give it to Fable. Mentioned Fable earlier. Of course, I anticipated it so much. I wanted it so bad, and I finally got it. And it wasn't as great as I thought it would be, but it was still really great. One of my greatest gaming experiences to this day. I remember when the Fable Lost Chapters came out. I beat that in one day. I ate that shit. I mean, talk about a fucking addictive game. That game took my soul that day, man. For real. But yeah, Fable, number 11. All right, number 10, Final Fantasy 8. Like I mentioned before, Final Fantasy 8 was pretty much the RPG that got me into RPGs. One of my best memories of playing that game is just, I just remember, I think I mentioned this before, but I was just in the bed eating Twizzlers. I was musty as fuck, and I think it was like summer, so I wasn't in school. I was just laying in my bed playing Final Fantasy 8, man, all day. I was lost. I was lost in that world, man. I was lost in, what was it, Galbania Garden or whatever. I was lost in the world of Final Fantasy 8 for like a long time. But yeah, it's just great soundtrack. I love the combat system. My favorite character, of course, was Zell because he was a hand-to-hand fighter. I don't know what it is, but there's something so badass about just somebody that just goes into a fight, just kicking and knocking motherfuckers out. So I love Zell, and he had like the most fun limit break because it was like you had to do combos and different moves. So it was like you were playing a fighting game inside the game. So yeah, Zell was definitely like my favorite character out of everybody, even though he was a huge dork and a kind of a screw up. Man, he was really powerful. But I always thought that the whole love triangle between Squall, Riona, and what's his name, Cypher. I always thought that was a little corny. I thought the whole romance bit was yeah, wasn't really into that. I just wanted to fight monsters. Okay, number 9, No More Heroes. No More Heroes is a game where just, what can I say? That game is just, it's pure fun. No More Heroes is just pure fun. But what got me to play No More Heroes was I listened to the OST first, and there was a song up there called Heat in My Heart. And that game, I mean, that song is so turned. I was like, I gotta play this game. So I got the game, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I mean, I love the main character, Travis Touchdown. He's an anime watching otaku. He's a nerd, but like he's a badass assassin. So he was just a cool, like, I felt like he represented for the weebs out there because he liked anime and shit, but he was a badass. He'd cut your head off. So he was just an awesome character in of himself. But just playing it on the Wii, and the way the combat system worked and the way they incorporated the nunchuck and the hand movements, it made combat was so much fun. Like just doing combos, and then you did a little swipe and he'll say "Shroom it." I forgot exactly how it works, but I just remember that game was so much fun. I mean, it definitely had its flaws, like the overworld being kind of bare. I mean, that game is, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. It's very rough around the edges, but I just think what it excels at is just pure fun. That game is just, it's pure fun in just the simplest way. Like it made perfect use of the Wii remote, and that's why I put No More Heroes at number 9. And it's just such a stylish game. Didn't Suda51 create that? Okay, what's number 8? Number 8. Now I know a lot of you guys, you're not gonna know about this game. This is a deep cut here. Like this is a deep cut, and you might even wonder why would I put it so high on the list. But this game is just probably my most cherished childhood game. It is Bust a Groove. Let me say it again. Bust a Groove. Now, not Bust a Move. Bust a Move is like that puzzle game with the dinosaurs. But no, Bust a Groove. It's like a dance game. And now it's a very simple dance game. It's not very complicated. Because the commands for each character are pretty much the same each different stage or dance battle. But what makes it kind of challenging is that each song has a different tempo, so you have to learn their dance moves, the inputs of their dance moves, and how to input it to the tempo of every different song. Because some songs are faster than others, some are slow, and then there's also like a combat mechanic in it where you can attack the other dancer and they can reflect it or block it or dodge it, and that kind of adds a bit of depth to the whole thing. But It's really not a complicated game. It's very simple. But what really made it good to me is that the music is so good. I love the Busta Groove music. Like this is another game where the soundtrack really makes it. But I think that's of course for like a dance rhythm game. I think that kind of you would expect that anyway. But it had fun characters, and each of them had like a song that really fit their vibe. You know, like Heat, who was like the edge lord, who flame shirt dancer. He had like the fast paced rap song, and then you had the girl in the bunny outfit. She had the slow R&B song, and then you had the fat black guy. He had like the old school hip hop song. The robot with like the techno dance song, like all that shit was just groovy and fun as hell, man. But just like I guess I'm sort of just looking at myself crazy because it's like I know how simple that game is, but I love it so much. I mean, I can play those same stages over and over and over and over again, maybe with different characters, but over. I never get tired of that game. I don't know why, man. I first played it when I was like in the second or third grade, and man, just loved it. Still love it to this day. Yeah, what's number 7? All right, number 7 is gonna be Pikmin. Like I said earlier, it's just a beautiful fucking game. Pikmin is just gorgeous. Gameplay wise, visually, the music. I didn't talk about the music before. Like even that's good. And it's a wholesome Nintendo experience. like Pikmin is a wholesome game. Like that, I think that's like the best way I can describe it. It's wholesome. It's so innocent and fun. I fucking love Pikmin, man. Number 6, Way of the Samurai. This is kind of a deep cut too. Way of the Samurai was a game where you were basically just a samurai, and you showed up in this area, and there was conflict between these two different samurai family, and also the townspeople, and you basically have a choice. Well, you have all kinds of choices as to how you deal with the situation that's presented to you. Like just for example, you could aid the townspeople in defending their restaurant, or you could join one of the families, which would put you in direct conflict with the other family. And there were other like sort of smaller and bigger choices all around, like around that. But what was cool about Way of the Samurai was that you could beat it very quick. Like like depending on the path that you chose, it could be a very short game. Like I'm talking 5 minutes to very long, to several hours. But usually you can always beat it within a day. But just like I said, it can end in 5 minutes, man. Like I remember one possible ending was that, all right, you showed up and you met one of the samurai families, and I think you start talking shit to them, and they tie you to the train tracks, and then they're talking to you, and then they kind of give you like a choice, like, hey, no, you get tied to the train tracks, and then somebody from the opposite family, they find you, and then they say, hey, we'll free you if you join us. And you got a choice. You can join them, and they'll cut you off of the train tracks, and you'll live. But if you say no, then the train comes and you die. So just little things like that could lead you to an early death or ending. But you can also extend the story like way beyond what you would think just by going down a certain path. So of course it's a samurai game, so the whole combat system is based around sword fighting. The fighting is decent. It's not bad. They had a large variety of weapons. I mean, whoa. has so many different weapons and fighting styles in that game. You can learn new moves. There really weren't any RPG elements. You just improved your sword or found better swords, and you could keep swords between playthroughs. And there was a lot of replayability because there were so many different endings that you could get. Well, the first one, I don't think the first one had a lot of different endings. I think it had like maybe 10 maybe more or less. But I know some of the later ones have a lot of endings. But yeah, that was the cool thing about it. Like, even though the game could be long or short, the various endings encourage you to play it, several times. But yeah, man, I love the Way of the Samurai series. I gotta play four. No, have I played 4? Nah, I haven't played it yet. All right, I gotta check that out. Okay, that was number 6. Let's see. Number 5, Resident Evil Remake. I love Resident Evil 1, but Resident Evil Remake did it so much better. Oh my God. That is the best survival horror game on the planet, in my opinion. But fuck your opinion, because it's the best survival horror game on the planet. I already explained why. Number 4 is gonna be Persona 3. Just gushed all over this earlier. Great soundtrack, great characters. Helped me not feel lonely. Really one of my favorite games of all time. Number 3, Street Fighter Third Strike. Now this one I gotta hit the brakes on and talk about a little bit. Now I love fighting games, but Third Strike to me, favorite fighting game of all time. I've always liked Street Fighter, and the cool thing about Street Fighter is that it's always had just such a great cast of fighters, like just a variety. They got a fighter from pretty much every country on the globe at this point, and just such character variety as far as like fighting styles, and they're always innovating in terms of fighting games, period. But Street Fighter Third Strike is two things about it, or really the Street Fighter 3 series as a whole. I mean, of course, the second one is better than the first one, and the third one's better than the second one. But, really that series as a whole, what I like about it over the other ones is, one, the cast. Street Fighter 3 has my favorite cast of fighters pretty much out of all the Street Fighter games. Maybe not the newest one. Street Fighter 5 has a great cast as well. I would say that's probably better. But the Street Fighter 3 cast, I like how they got rid, not that they got rid of the older characters, but I just feel like the characters that they replaced the older guys with, I just felt like they were cooler. Like, just generally, I just feel like the new characters were like Dudley, the gentleman boxer. You had Elena, the sexy African fighter. They brought Chun-Li back. That was a good decision. They had the Yun and Yang, the twins. Sean Matsuda, the black shuttle fighter. He was always my favorite character. He was so much fun to use. Of course, had the classics like Ken and Ryu. Ken was so OP in that game. Damn, Ken was cool as fuck in that game. He was like, that was swag Ken right there. I love that. That's probably like my favorite. That's probably my favorite iteration of Ken out of all the Street Fighter games. But other than the cast, the soundtrack, Street Fighter 3 has such a good soundtrack. I mean, every song just about, I love it. I mean, Jazzy NYC, Beats in My Head, Spunky, Necro's theme, Snowland, the character select screen. I mean, even Second Impact had great songs, had a great soundtrack. I don't know which soundtrack is better. I would vote for Third Strike over Alpha 3's soundtrack, but I could definitely see an argument for Alpha 3. But I don't think any of the games after Third Strike have had a soundtrack that could compare to that one. Third Strike had a great soundtrack. But other than the cast and the music, also the gameplay, I mean, like Third Strike was well known at the time for just being like such, like just the, like, it was like a new level of 2D sprites, like just the attention to detail and the fluidity of the animations. I mean, everything was so smooth and beautiful, especially like with characters like Elena and her like complex movements. Like everything was just smooth, and I mean, damn, that was an awesome game though. Love Third Strike. All right, number 2, Morrowind. If I had to be on a deserted island for 1 year and I could only bring one game, it would be Morrowind. Simply because that's one game that I feel like I could put the most amount of hours to, just trying to figure everything out. Especially if you get me the expansion pack, Tribune and Blood Moon. Hell yeah, like that's the game that that's the one game I would take with me on the fucking island or in prison, because it's just so much to do in that game. I feel like I could never conquer it unless I had just nothing but time to explore everything and talk to everyone and take notes and that's why Morrowind is number 2, because I think out of all the games I've ever played or that's on this list, I could probably put the most amount of time into Morrowind. But it's still a very flawed game. It's rough around the edges, so I couldn't give it number 1. Number 1, I give to Ocarina of Time. Yes. I know, it's such a typical answer. I mean, that's so Ocarina of Time, you know, what a surprise. But I made a list of like my favorite games, and I just kind of figured out, like, I looked at everything and like I just thought what could be number 1, and I just gotta give it to Ocarina of Time because like it's impressive in the same way that Pikmin is, or Shenmue, or even I guess like it's like it's an impressive, beautiful game, but it's also fun and enjoyable. Like it has like those two going for it. Like Ocarina of Time is like a work of art, you know, but it's not just a work of art. It's also fun, you know, and I think it excels in both of those areas more so than just about any game, you know. I could say, you know, I could play Morrowind for a much longer time than I could play Ocarina of Time. But Morrowind doesn't have, I guess, the artistic merit that I would give to Zelda Ocarina of Time is what I'm trying to say. Ocarina of Time just it's really, to me, it's a work of art, man. I mean, that's one of the most beautifully crafted games ever to me. I mean, just soundtrack, the different locations, the world. I mean, the Zora domain, the Goron mountains, and the different towns, and the castle, the plains, Lon Lon Ranch, the memorable NPCs, the dungeons, the quests, collecting. I mean, man, what a fucking journey, an adventure of no other, man. Damn. I said it. Ocarina of Time is my number one game of all time. And I think that'll be it for my favorite games of all time. And but before I close out with this main topic here, video games are not without their criticisms. Video games have been in the spotlight several times, with people talking about young people wasting their lives gaming, when they could be doing something productive or contributing to the world. But I got two things I got two thoughts on that. I think one, I feel like certain activities people just are always gonna look at as being a waste of time, even though they may not say the same for other kind of activities. Like, just for example, how is, say, if you're having a great time playing your favorite video game and you're having a blast, all right, you could say that's a waste, but if I said, man, I just went outside and looked up at the stars, people be like, oh man, he's in nature. He's enjoying he's thinking of the world. Like, people apply a certain amount of value to certain activities that really aren't productive either. Like, even just hanging out with friends or, pillow talking with a girlfriend or whatever. Like, stuff like that, people never really criticize. But, having fun with a video game, you shouldn't do that. Or, if I was playing chess, or like, man, I'm playing chess, they're like, oh, he's playing chess. He's, chess, that's just a stand-up game there. But how is chess any less of a waste of time than, say, playing Street Fighter? I don't know. But whatever. But also, I do kind of agree in a sense that I feel like, or maybe this is just me because I tend to be a little bit more ambitious, but I feel like when you're young, that's the time to really have your own adventures. That's the time to really, life, the world itself is kind of like the world, I guess you could say, in Ocarina of Time or Morrowind really, in that it's massive and there are challenges, there are rewards, there are risks, and I think real life, in a way, is sort of it's like the best game. Really, reality is the best game, and it's the game that'll get you the furthest in life. So I'm at a point where I don't want to spend too much time playing video games, at least not at this point in my life, because I'm young and I'm watching these characters go on their adventures and fight their demons and overcome their obstacles, and it makes me want to overcome my own. It makes me want to have my own adventures and my own stories. And as much as I love video games, and the same could be applied to anime or anything else, is that I reached a point where I want to have my own experiences that I can call my own. But rest assured, when I'm old and fucked up, I think that's when I really want to do the bulk of my gaming. I want to cut down on the gaming and just really media consumption in general, and just do more creating and experiencing myself. Of course, I'm still game on the side of this and that, but I want that to be the side thing. I don't want it to be the main thing. But I hope I live long enough to where I can live comfortably. And just, I want to play all those old RPGs that I never got the chance to complete. Sweet Code and Romance and Saga Frontiers, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger. I want to go back and beat those old side-scrolling games. I want to play the games that are coming out now that I won't get the chance to play at the time. Yeah, I hope I think when I'm old, that's what I want to do. I want to just play a lot of video games, but when I'm old, yeah. So yeah, to game or not to game, it's all up to you, my friends. And with that, I'm gonna close out with the main topic, and we're gonna have our final segment before I get the fuck out of here. I'll be right back. Oh shit. Okay, guys, I hope you guys had a great time chilling with me for this episode of How to Be a NEET. Now, before I get the fuck out of here, of course, I'm going to have a 4chan post of the day and also read a couple comments. Now, let's get right into that, shall we? Now, this is a interesting comment. I mean, not comment, but post that I saw on 4chan because it kind of corroborates something that I've been thinking for quite a while now about girls and their preferences for guys. And the post says, women are extremely social, and because of that, they want a boyfriend they can be proud of and can show off to their group of friends. And if they feel any kind of embarrassment about being around you in public, they won't show interest in you in a million years. Good luck. Now, this post makes me think of a time, it was years ago, but my sister, she had told me something. She said, one of my friends said she would talk to you if you knew how to dress. And it kind of went in one ear and out the other because her friends aren't exactly my type, but yeah, like that's exactly what that post was kind of talking about. It's like a girl might even like you, but if you're weird, if you're socially awkward, if people look at you a certain way, like girls are not gonna want to fuck with you. And I think that's always been one of my biggest problems, or not even problems, but just one of the things that makes it nearly impossible for me to get laid or get a girlfriend is that I'm unapologetically weird. Like, so I don't know what happened, but somewhere in high school, I just stopped giving a fuck. I guess I just sort of like, I realized, okay, I'm the outsider. I might as well just do whatever the fuck I want to do instead of trying to fit in. And that's always been my way of doing things. So I'll leave the house dressed any kind of way. You know, my hair be fucking naughty. I might have like some weird mannerisms. You know, everything I do is to amuse myself. Like my whole stance, my whole behavior, everything about me is just self-amusing. And the issue with that is that, you know, that can be kind of off-putting to other people. They may not quite understand. Like, to put it simply, like, you look like you're fucking crazy. I do a lot of things, like whenever I'm out that might just make people look at me like, oh, like, what's up with this guy? Even though I'm, you know, a chill, cool guy, kind of. But yeah, I think, yeah, bitches, they don't want to have a boyfriend that they can't show off to their friends, you know, because I'm not gonna say only girls are competitive in that way. I'm sure guys are too, but I think girls is definitely more so because they tend to have higher standards for their guy. You know, you can't brag about your boyfriend's little dick, or, you know, his poor fashion sense, or the fact that he doesn't have a job. So yeah, that was just a interesting post that I saw that caught my eye. But whatever, you know. Over here, we're used to being virgins. We're okay with this shit now. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into some comments. I've been wanting to read some of these comments for a while now, so I'm gonna get right into that. Okay. Now, Daniel Wilson says, here before 1 mil, row row. And right under that, Gerald says, laugh out loud, that ain't happening, and probably for the better. Now, I take that as a challenge. See, now I gotta hit 1 million. Now it's like, okay, this, he said I couldn't, now I gotta do it. But I wonder what he meant by probably for the better. Probably like I don't know, like maybe I'd be like a bad influence on the youth, like promoting the neat lifestyle, virginity, you know, just being a fucking weirdo loser. But yeah, thanks for those comments, guys. Thanks for the encouragement. Darth Salad said, dude, how the hell are you a virgin? You're photogenic as fuck, 3-inch dong aside. Dude, like, is like I said earlier about that post, like I'm weird as fuck. Like at certain angles I can look cool, but like usually I'm walking around with a naughty head, Walmart clothes, and my mannerisms are just like twitchy, like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park or The Fly type shit. Like I'm just I'm a weird, like my vibe is not like cool tough guy or anything like that. Like my vibe is just so fucking just like I don't even know. It's weird. Like even the way people interact with me, I can tell like they're picking up like a weird vibe from me, but nothing like too bad. And also is the fact that, you know, usually if you want to get laid, you got to try. You got to go out, you got to approach girls, you got to talk to them. And not only, you know, do I not go up and talk to girls, especially like now during the fucking Me Too era, where like, did you see that shit about Netflix where like on set, like people can't look at each other for more than 5 seconds? It's like I feel like if you go up and talk to a girl, no matter how you do it, you're basically asking for sex. I mean, even if you do it in the most genuinely way, essentially you're saying, I want you to sit on my face. I want to put my thumb in your butt as I hit you from the back. I want you to suck my little dick. Like, no matter what, that's what you're saying, and I understand that. And to me, I guess I was just raised to be such a beta nice guy that's vulgar. Like that's so out of my comfort zone. Like I don't think I could ever really just go up to a girl and introduce myself because I know I'm really just asking for sex. And then of course, like no job, no money, like bitches do not like want to fuck with a nigga like who ain't got some type of resources or something to offer. Like really, I don't have anything to offer other than my awesome personality. You know, because you know I'm not short. I'm like 5'8", but that's still below like what girls will actually like. I got a small dick, so I can't get girls based on just being like a sex god. So I would have to compensate by being relatively normal, having a car, house, and shit like that. And I got none of that, so I don't have anything to offer offer a girl. But the cherry on top is that I really don't give a fuck about being a virgin anymore. So that's you know, that's a big part of it. If you don't care about being a virgin, you're not gonna put the effort in to lose it. You're not gonna lose it. That's how I ended up a fucking pretty ass virgin. All right, now. Meme Machine said, keep up the great work, my dude. Your music is great. Your channel is growing. You have the potential to make this into something special beyond your wildest dreams. Just remember, keep being you, man. Thank you so much. See, I love posts like that. But yeah, I mean, it's so cool because I remember like this channel, like really, I remember having like 30 subscribers like early last year. And it just slowly just started growing from there. And then just, you know, just great comments from you guys has kept me encouraged to keep doing more. You know, I'm definitely motivated to, you know, take this to the next level, man. Like, I'm gonna really go fucking hard this year. You better believe it. Thank you so much. Okay. Now, Bonk TV said, can you post more on R9K? Dude, I'm always on R9K. You have to see the bullshit I fucking post up there. I'm there way too much. That's why I upload at such a like infrequent basis, because I shit post and sleep and fat too much. But yeah, I'm always around. Believe that. Nate P said, you inspired me to go out and try this out. After 4 hours of screwing around, I gave up and deleted my music. Maybe I will revisit it, but not today. I would probably be better off watching tutorial on how to get motivated to actually make music and not watch Little Witch Academia for the 20th time. Maybe if I ever stop working this wage slave job and go NEET, I will have the time. Yeah, I'm glad I inspired you to try out, making some music shit. But it does take time. I mean, you out there here. I mean, just listen to my Blowed mixtape. It's on the channel. Like, you can those songs were some of my like earliest music, and I got even worse shit, like older worse shit, and my beats were not that great. But it's just over time, I kept and not even like a lot. Like, dude, there would be like entire weeks where I wouldn't do shit. And then I would finally, dig myself out of a depressed state and just go back to making music, and voila, I just ended up getting good over the course of like many years, or at least decent. So it does take time, but if you stick with it, you'll definitely make progress. And if you stick with me, you're gonna be one of the best, my friend. But yeah, thank you for that comment, Nate P. Now, that loser Mika said, I used to go on night walks when I was a teenager, but later my paranoid schizophrenia has gotten worse and I'm beyond terrified of even leaving in the daytime. I miss night walks. Now that sounds awful. Now there was definitely a point when I couldn't even leave the house. Like, I remember I tried to go to the store one time and I just got like this, I don't know, like this weird feeling of like I was disoriented. It was like a feeling of like vertigo or something, but like I couldn't even make it to the store. But I guess over time I just kept forcing myself to go out, venturing out further and further, to the point where, I can like run up and down like my city, like for miles, like going to the library or whatever, just to have a little fun out in the town. So I don't think I'm schizophrenic, so I don't know how that is, but the only thing I could recommend is, if you want to get out, then you just got to take it one step at a time. Maybe do a lap around the block, practice some like meditation to kind of chill your brain out. Look up like remedies for like, cause there are a lot of like natural remedies for like anxiety and shit like that. So yeah, just take some time to work on your brain and slowing it down, and just kind of breaking out of your comfort zone bit by bit. Don't rush it. Thank you for the comment, my man. Okay, now Joe Filipila, I don't know. Congratulations, my dude. This is very Chad for a beta robot. Dope song, by the way. Oh yeah. When I first started rapping, like I wasn't rapping about like loser shit. Like I was just having fun. I was like every other nigga, just like rapping about cars and bitches and money that I didn't have. So that's kind of like a throwback to like my original style of doing it. Just like, just having fun with it. I didn't really take it too seriously, so I just rapped about anything that I wanted to rap about. But it really wasn't until I started really putting like my real feelings and lifestyle into my music that I gained a sizable fan base. But but I still like making just fun, turnt music, like I got my bitch in the club and we fucking, she gonna suck my dick, so just fun shit like that. So don't be surprised if you see a song where I'm rapping about like, bitches or cars and shit, even though I'm a broke NEET. Like, that's just me just having fun and, just being creative in a different way. But yeah, that Wolfgang Fist song was tight. Okay. Now, Roxy Poxy said, nice job turning all our autism into dope ass lyrics, bud. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't until I started rapping about like my real feelings and shit that, people started really paying attention. So that's what I've been doing lately. And I found that I'm pretty good at it because, I've really lived a kind of a fucked up loser life. And it's starting to pay off in a very weird way. But thank you, man. Adolf Hitler said, you're a failure at life when you can't even get in the friend zone. Yeah, I don't think I have a single female friend. I don't think I've ever had a female friend in my life. When was the last time I talked to a girl? Damn. All right. Thanks for the comment, Adolf Hitler. Hitler did nothing wrong. Okay. Now, Space Mop said, this video is now tainted with death. Oh yeah, that dude, what's his name? Fucking Shabi? He fucking blew his head off. Let me go back a little bit. This guy, I guess he was an R9K regular, and he ended up killing himself on live stream for his Discord buddies or whatever. And I saw the video, like he blew his top clean off, and then you hear his mom coming there and she's like distraught and shit, and you hear the cops coming there. That shit was fucking crazy, goddamn. But the craziest thing about it was that this guy, he liked one of my songs. He liked Life is Neat. Somebody had recommended the song to him, and he had it in his like video. So it's like I hope I didn't influence this guy to fucking blow his top off. I mean, damn, dude. But I'm just going to assume that I had nothing to do with this young guy's death. But I'm thinking about doing like a tribute song to him. Like maybe not directly about him, but because I am working on the Robot Music Volume 9002 mixtape, I was like, I need to make a song covering suicide thoughts. And I'm thinking about calling it, just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of, what's so dumb? What's the kind of making it in his honor, you know what I'm saying? Because he did like my music, and he was one of us. He was a brother. I mean, it's no telling how many people on R9K just couldn't take it anymore and took their lives or whatever. So yeah, I want to make a kind of a tribute song to him and all the other bros who may have killed themselves or are thinking about killing themselves. Yeah, that was some crazy fucking shit though. Damn. Oh, his mom doesn't track me down or something. All right, thanks for that comment, man. All right. Steak Tastes Better Pills said, I'm going to work hard and reach a financial position where I can finally ditch society and be a NEET with my own money and not be a burden on anyone. Retire really early, basically. That is my plan too. That's my plan. Like, that's my dream. Like, because I like the freedom that being a NEET brings, but I don't like being a burden on my mom. That's why I try to do as much as I possibly can for her and my other family members that I can. But I really want to, I don't know. I want that freedom, but I also want to carry my own weight. Like that's the dream. Maybe one day, just through creating, maybe I'll be able to make money through creating things, creating music. I don't know. But that is my that is my dream as well. I wanna, yeah, I wanna just retire and do whatever the fuck I want to do, pretty much, and not even necessarily be like lazy. Like I don't want to just be a NEET and just sit around the house all day. Like I want to like have enough like disposable income where like I can like do like different activities and shit like that, where I can still challenge myself and push myself and go on adventures, just not have the clock in 9 to 5 and shit like that. But yeah, man, thanks for that comment. Venom Akuma said, a NEET outside, blasphemy. And then Anon Mud said, that's a hikikomori. And he does have a point. NEETs are simply unemployed, not in education, etc. While hikikomori is more of a shut-in. Now, I definitely had a hickey phase early on in my NEET life, but I've broken well out of that. I mean, because I'm running all over town these days. I'm going to the library. I'm walking miles just to go to Walmart, going to, cook out to get some food. I walk to the movie theaters. I bike several different places. Like, I go on adventures, man. Like, I love, like, a lot of people shit on anime, but the one thing anime really inspired me to do was to challenge myself and break out of my comfort zone and just say, fuck you, everybody, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so I've been able to just kind of, venture out of my house and go on my own little quests and missions, so to speak. So you may see me outside at the park or whatever, just, like, I know one time, like, sometimes I'll like walk to the park while listening to like an audiobook or something, and I'll go there and do like some push-ups or something, just anything to just get out of the house, get out of my head, and just get some fresh air and shit. Like, I'm definitely on some like adventure next level shit these days, having a lot of fun. But thanks for those comments, man. Okay, Coke said looking fit. Oh, hold up, I fucked this all up. All right. Coke said looking fit as fuck. Yes, man, I've been working out not a lot, I don't really go hard or anything like that. I just use I do like push-ups, I go running in the morning, stuff like that. But I'm thinking about making an episode about like fitness and just general neat well-being, because I've been really into taking care of myself lately, and that's why I've been looking so handsome and cute these days. Thank you, Coke. Thank you so much. All right, Zachariah Amane said, you gotta publish your lyrics though. Yeah, a lot, like some songs I'll put the lyrics up there. Some songs I'm like, it's kind of a bitch to like write them over again, because I usually write it on paper, so I would have to write it again on my laptop, and then so it's like, hopefully they don't want the lyrics, but they usually do. So yeah, I'm gonna start. That's probably gonna be the standard for now. I'm gonna make sure I put the lyrics on these songs if I'm not too lazy. Just trying to make you guys happy. Thank you, Zachariah. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I had so much fun with you guys today. Thank you guys for sitting with me as I rant about my bad taste in video games. I'm gonna try to get these episodes out faster, especially like this summer and shit, because reasons. But yeah, man, we're gonna have a lot of fun this summer, man. I love the summertime. The sun is out. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful time to be a NEET, man. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about next episode. It'll be a surprise. Yeah. So stay tuned, guys. And on that note, I will see you guys later. I truly do adore you. Bye bye.